Hello and welcome to another Blender bite-sized video. In this one I'm going to show you how to create this cool zombie skin effect procedurally in Blender 4. Here's a quick rundown of what I'll be using. I'm using Blender 4.2, Windows 11, NVIDIA graphics card, Cycles render engine and a custom startup file that I've got a separate video for if you'd like to see how I did that. Just before I continue with the tutorial, let me remind you that you can grab this material and hundreds more on my Gumroad store, blenderbitesize.gumroad.com. Okay, so here we are in the scene. I've got my object, some lighting, a camera, and of course the room that has some lights built into the wall. I'm going over to the shading tab, enabling display render preview, selecting my object and clicking on new to assign a new material. So I've got a fair bit to do for this one, but the first thing I'm going to do is expand a couple of sections that I'm going to use on the principled shader. On the subsurface, on the roughness, we're going for 0.432. We're going to put the subsurface up to 1. Set the scale as 0.3. And on the coat, we're going for a weight of 0.25. The scale on the subsurface, by the way, will depend on the object you're using and its scale, so that's a setting you might need to take note of. So let's make a start. The first thing that I need to do is press Shift A and search for a Voronoi texture. And I'll press Ctrl T to add a texture coordinate and a mapping node and change the texture coordinate output to object. Then I'll connect up the Voronoi texture to the base color. Already things going on at the top there. I'll change the scale to 1.16, detail to 15, and leave everything else as it is. Then I'm going to search for and apply a wave texture and put that in between the Voronoi and the principled shader. Change it to rings. Set the scale at 2 and leave everything else as it is. Then I'm going to search for and apply a color ramp. And then for this color stop, I'm going to leave it at black, but set the position as 0.032. I'll add another color stop and set the value as 0.12 and the position as 0.886. Then I'm going to search for another color ramp and put that in between. Add another few color stops, so 3 additional ones in total. And then for the color, I'm going to put hex value of 789285, and that gives us our overall skin color. So in this case, I'm going for a sort of zombie greeny fleshy. For the third color stop, 8D897F, and setting the position to 0.218. For that third color stop, 866363. And for the fourth color stop, moving it to 0.477 with a hex value of 9D645F. So this is giving us the color for the sort of veiny, weird distortion things. And then that final colour is the sort of deepest recesses of those, I don't want to call them veins, the ravaged bits. Anyway, you know what I mean. You can see what's happening. So I'm going to select all of these, press Shift P to add a frame, and then call that flesh. So that's basically the flesh colour that's coming in here. I'm then going to search for and add a bump node. And I'm going to connect that up with the first colour ramp in the flesh colour. And connect that to the normal of the principled shader. So you can see now that's kind of working with that colouring from the colour ramp to create the bump detail. I'm also going to add that to the normal of the coat, because otherwise it would form a uniform glossy coat over that detail, but we want the detail to, or the coat to follow the bump detail. I'm probably going to need to invert that later on. So we've got our flesh colour, we've got it going through the principled shader, we've got our subsurface applied, we've got the bump detail. Next job is to connect up a mapping node to the texture coordinate, a second mapping node. Then connect that up to another Voronoi texture. Then connect that up to another colour ramp. And that into another bump node using the height input. Then we'll connect that bump node to the normal input of the other bump node. Now let's make some changes here. I'm going to set the feature output to smooth F1. On that top one, I forgot to click normalize, by the way. Scale here is going to go to 300. Detail to 1.5, roughness to 0.15, and smoothness to 0.5. Then I'm going to set the white colour stop on the colour ramp to 0.4, and the strength on the bump node to 0.3, and the distance to 0.5. And then on that second bump node, as I mentioned, we need to select invert to push that detail in towards the object, setting the strength to 0.25 and distance to 0.25. So it's just very subtle. I'm going to select those nodes, apply a frame, and name that as pores. So these are giving us nice little dotty holes in the skin, so it's just a little bit of extra detail. If you're never going to go super close to this object, you could skip this bit or skip those pores. It's not 100% necessary. I just found that it gave some extra detail. So we're going through all of those nodes with a fresh colour so you can see what's happening. And then for the pores, you can see that we've got lots of tiny dots. The colour ramp is crunching those down to very fine detail. The bump node is obviously then affecting the surface of the object, and that's being piped through the extra one, which gives the other surface detail. And all of that's being pumped through the principled shader to give us our final result. And of course, don't forget to name these materials so that if you're going to append them to another project, you can find them easily within your blend files. So these are the settings that I used for rendering. Feel free to pause the video if you need to make a note or copy. And I've got the compositor set to use the GPU And in the compositor, I've got a denoise and a despeckle with the settings you see here. So let's see what that looks like. So I did speed the video up here. That took around 25 seconds. Obviously we're using subsurface detailing, so you can see the light coming through the ears where it's quite thin there. You of course could drop that all the way down to 0. You won't get the same effect, but it will be a lot faster rendering. So our previous one took around 25 seconds. This one without the subsurface took around 14.5 seconds, so 10 seconds less per frame is a huge saving if you're doing animation. If we increase that again to 1 but change it to random walk skin, we need to adjust the settings here because it's factored in the fact that it's skin. So we'll drop that scale to 0.1. And then if we render again, I'll speed up the video here. This came in at around 27 seconds, so this was longer than the first one. So it's entirely up to you what result you want and how fast you need to render, but this is what you'll get. Anyway, thanks for watching. Of course, please remember to give the video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. Leave any comments in the usual places and subscribe for future content. In the meantime, thanks for watching.